Everything Legit, the Nimi Mehta podcast, season 2. Here we are. I am so excited for this season 2. And you know what? I feel reborn. I feel like a lot of people have been feeling this. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's taken the time out to listen to season 1, whether it was one episode or the whole season. I've appreciated the DMs so much. A lot of you have been on my back about doing season 2, and I really appreciate it. But you know what also? I didn't feel right doing it at the time that everyone was asking me to do it. I was like, I don't want to rush it. I really just want to be in the right frame of mind and feel, just the energy needs to be right. And so here we are. The energy is right. Episode number 1 of season 2. And as you can tell by the title, it is very similar to episode 1 of season 1. And it's okay, my husband is living with me. I can't quite believe it, guys. We've really been through a journey, haven't we? Remember when season 1 kicked off? It was actually a week before I was going to get married. And now here we are. It's been over a year since I've been married. And oh my gosh, actually longer than a year. Probably like 14 months now. And things have changed, circumstances have changed in a very good way. Don't worry, I'm still married, everything's good. But I really want to speak to you guys about it because it's been a roller coaster of a year for many reasons, as you all know. This global pandemic, my goodness, I don't know where to start. We all know what it's been, right? We don't want to get into the details of it. It was a really tough one for a lot of people for different reasons. So I'm sending you all so much love wherever you are in the world listening. Because whatever you went through, I can imagine it was not easy, but we hopefully, fingers crossed, are coming out the other end and the world is starting to look a bit normal, right? This episode, I really want to talk to you and get personal about, the build up to my feelings of my husband moving here. As you all know, or maybe you don't know, maybe you're listening to this podcast for the first time, I was in a long distance relationship with my husband. We got married a year ago, and since then he was living in London, I was living in Dubai, and so we were a good 6-7 hours away from each other. We've been doing long distance as boyfriend and girlfriend. We did long distance as fiancés, and it was really tough. Do listen to my episodes in season 1 because you'll really get a good idea of how we got through it. He also features in one of the episodes where we get real about our relationship and the different dynamics, the different personalities, how we both dealt very differently with the long distance. But do have a listen to that because then you'll truly understand this episode a lot more. I want to jump straight into my feelings building up to when my husband was going to move. Now, when you know something's coming and there's something in the calendar and your mind tries to avoid it. That's what I felt like I was doing. And it sounds crazy. It sounds ridiculous. And some people might not get it, Some people would have had it as a date in their calendar that they were just counting down the days to. And I'm not ashamed to say this, and I'm not afraid to say this because it's something I've discussed with my husband as well. It was a date I was dreading. And this is, no disrespect to him. I love him so much. And of course, a part of me was very excited. But there was a really big part of me that wasn't. And the reason being because the dynamics were going to change and my whole life was going to change. My life as I knew it. We already were used to a long distance relationship. We didn't have to see each other all the time. We didn't have to talk all the time. And we became really comfortable with that in a really great way. And now I was coming to terms with the fact that, my goodness, I have a life here. Like, I've truly set up my life now. 4 years I've been in the UAE, and I've made I've made my friends, I've made family, I've, got my own place that I've created as my own little haven, my own little home. I have crazy hours when it comes to work in the morning on the radio show, as well as in the evening with events. I'm out and about all the time. Sometimes my weekends aren't weekends. Sometimes I'm just working. And I got accustomed to it. Sometimes if I wanted to get up and leave the house at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I could do that. I didn't have to think about anyone else. I didn't have to worry about anyone else. And so all these things were going through my mind. All of these things of how life is going to change after he moves here. And, you know, the great thing about my husband is we had constant communication before he moved here about how I was feeling. And I thought it was very important for me to be very honest with him about it. You know, I didn't want to fake it to him. I didn't want to say to him, I'm totally fine. I cannot wait for you to get here. I'm not freaking out at all. You know, I thought that's just not real. And I want him to know what I'm going through. And of course, a part of him was freaking out as well. He's moving country. He's going to have to make new friends, new social circles, get a job. All of these things were terrifying for him. But the build up, my anxiety was unbelievable. When I say, I don't know, some people react differently to anxiety. Mine turns very physical. So what I tend to do is grind my teeth at night. And then I wake up in the morning with a really achy jaw. My teeth are hurting, which then leads to massive headaches. I was getting that every single day. Every single day I was getting massive headaches. I dropped a whole load of weight, and I'm assuming that's why, because of just my overthinking. I'm an overthinker, and I'm totally okay with it. People can turn around and say to me, you need to stop overthinking. No, that's never gonna happen. I just need to be okay with the way I overthink, and where that mind track kind of goes with it. I just was so nervous. I was worried I wasn't gonna be the wife he wanted me to be. I was worried I was going to lose myself. I was worried I was going to lose us in the process of losing myself. I even had thoughts of, but does he really know me anymore? Because the person that I am now is such a different person that he met 11 years ago. It's a different person to who he got engaged to. It's a different person to who he got married to over a year ago. So much has happened. And, you know, aside from the personal stuff, career-wise, I was freaking out. The world shut down, and I know it was a lot of people lost their jobs. I was one of the lucky ones to keep my job. Pay cuts were happening. You know, so much was happening that I just started to freak out. Back to when he was coming over, I truly, truly felt like I was having an identity crisis. I started questioning myself. I was like, who am I? Like, who are you going to introduce yourself as when your husband moves over? Because he doesn't really know this version of you. He's seen bits of this version of you, right? But how is he going to react when he truly gets to know you? And I know he loves me, and I know he would love me in any shape or form. I don't know about you, but anyone in a relationship, but I always ask my husband the craziest questions, like, would you love me if I was a worm? Would you still love me if I had no skin? And he says yes every single time. And the crazy thing is I believe him. And if it was the other way around, like, would I love him if he was a worm? No, absolutely not. I would not. Babe, honestly, that's just what I would not feel. But I was worried that maybe he won't think I'm a good wife. And what is a good wife? You know, I was putting this pressure on this good wife category, this good wife character, this good wife stereotype that we've all been built up to see, whether that's magazines, TV shows, movies, our own families and role models and couples around us. I don't know about you, but my whole life I have seen my parents, my grandparents, the women, the females, always just bending over backwards to make their man happy. And I definitely want to do that. I, of course, want to make him happy. That goes without saying. But there was also a part of me that wanted to go against that. And when I say against that, I mean I wanted to break the mold, because I believe our previous generations did it in a really toxic way. They gave themselves to someone in the process of losing themselves as a result. Do you know what I mean? And that's made me really sad. I've witnessed it. I still witness it to this day. And that's just because that's what society taught them to do. And I personally want to be the generation that breaks it. I want to break the cycle in my family tree. And that is not a bad thing. I want to let anyone know who's listening who's like, yeah, I want to do that too. It's not a bad thing. We're not rebels. We're not breaking traditions. We're just creating new ones. You know, this is a whole new different way of life now. And I've had this discussion with my husband. I feel it's really, really important to set your standards from day one. there's this trap that you may get into. If you give them 100%, like show them that you're about to sacrifice everything that makes you happy just to make them happy, you're going to have to keep that up for the rest of time. That is a standard you are setting from day one. You'll have to do it day 2, day 3, and so on and so forth. Because the second that standard drops, that's when they might think that you've changed, or who do you think you are now? Do you not love me anymore? Do you not think I'm important? No, actually, I'm going to set a different standard from day one. From day one, the standard I set was, I love you and I am here for you. I am here to support you. I'm so excited to help you build this brand new life that you have coming for you. But please do not rely on me for your happiness. Please do not rely on me to be or feel complete. And I think that's such an important conversation to have when you're in a relationship. He was 100% understanding. He totally gets it. And he says the same to me. He shouldn't be the reason that I'm not happy or I'm not complete. So I really set that standard from day one. If I have to work and if I don't have energy to make food and if I don't have the energy to run around him like and air quotes, good wife would do, that's just the way it is. We're both, working individuals. We're both young, 30 years old. Well, he's 30. I'm not 30 yet. Okay, let's hold out that final few months. But we really had to have those discussions, and I think they're important discussions to have. A lot of changes in our relationship, a lot of changes in the dynamics. I mean, imagine this. 11 years we've been together, none of which we have actually lived together. So 11 years of spending decent time together, and the last 4 years, minimal time together because of the long distance. And now all of a sudden, you're in an apartment together in a city where he doesn't have many friends yet, because of course he's going to build them. He's looking for a job, and all of these things, it's not just focused on one thing. It's not just, okay, let's just focus on our relationship right now. The rest of the things in our life are steady. It happened in the middle of a global pandemic where everything is uncertain. So it was brave of him to make that move, and I want to give myself credit as well because I think that's really important. Brave of me to make that move. It was a move that we knew we were going to make, and let me tell you, it's happened now, and I'm still freaking out, and that's not a bad thing. But every day I have to reset. Every day he has to reset, to be honest. And we've had this discussion as well. At the first 2-3 weeks, it felt like a honeymoon. It felt like we were just best friends hanging out. And I was like, oh, he's amazing. Like, this is the reason we're together. Look how easy this is. Everything was easy. And the first week, second week, I tried to cook. I made a full Indian meal for him. And I'm that type of person that shows my love through food. And kind of like running around him in the sense that I want his stomach to be full. I want him to be happy. I want him to be comfortable in the environment. So whether that's making sure, I cleared out a bedroom for him. So one bedroom is dedicated for all of his clothes. So we're not in each other's space all the time. He's got his own bathroom. We've kept it very separate in that sense. And we're both responsible for our own spaces. But I made so much effort with the food. Like I said, I made a full Indian. I made Mexican. There was a different cuisine every single day. And it was great. I was enjoying it. He was enjoying it. And also, we started talking about budget, about, okay, what are we spending here? The rent, the bills, the groceries, the shopping, the this, the that, the cars. There is so much to think about. And for the first time, I feel like I'm an actual adult. I feel like I actually have responsibilities. It's no longer about me. It's also about the person that lays next to me at night. And that's a beautiful, crazy, scary thing. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. I'm still terrified to this day that I'm not meeting expectations. And not his expectations, my expectations, the pressure that I'm putting on myself. I'm putting this pressure on myself, but that's only because society has told us that as women, that's what we have to do. But like I said earlier, as this new generation of women who are also working, who dedicate a majority of their lives for making a path, creating their own journey that isn't attached to their men, is a terrifying thing, but incredibly empowering. We're empowering ourselves. It's that balance. It's finding that balance, isn't it? The balance between, I want to be the good wife that is there for him whenever he needs, but I also want to be present for myself. I do not want to lose myself in all of this madness. And that is the kind of back and forth I'm in right now. I'm 6-7 weeks into it, and it's going great. Sometimes it can get very frustrating. We've already had 2 to 3 arguments in the last 6 weeks, which to many that may be what, only 2 or 3. To some might be whoa, that's a lot. But for us, that's a lot. We're a couple that don't tend to really argue about anything. We only really argue when we're both hungry or he's not taking the right photo of me for Instagram. So those are the only reasons we argue. And now we're finding more and more reasons to argue. And one thing I've definitely noticed, especially in the last few days actually, is that I am so much like my mum, more than I even realized I was becoming. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. My mum's incredible. If you've ever seen her on my Instagram, she's an absolute character. But it really is true. What you see growing up is how you tend to act. And whether some people, when they see their parents as a child, they're like, I'll never be this as a partner, or I'll never be this as a parent. But when you're thrown into the situation, it's like this uncontrollable thing. It's like that voice in your head. I mean, the other day, we had guests coming over and we were so excited to host them. It was the first time they were seeing our place. So of course I wanted the whole place to be spick and span, totally clean. And my husband's great like that. He's super domestic. He loves cleaning, making sure everything's, in the right order. And he had just some bits and bobs out. And I was like, are you going to move that? And I became so snappy and rude. And I checked myself because I realized that when guests are coming over to our house when I was growing up, that's how my mum would be with us and with my dad. And I remember being so annoyed at it when I was growing up. And now I totally understand it. Like, excuse me, why aren't you on the same level as me? We have people coming over. I want the house to look amazing. It's so simple. And now I feel like I'm relating to my mum now more than ever. When we talk about generational breaking generational cycles, I really, really, truly want to do that. We come from very traditional backgrounds, both of us. If you don't know, we are both from different religions. My husband is Sikh, I am Hindu. And yeah, sure, we're on the same branch when it comes to religion, in terms of beliefs and morals and values. But we've both had a very different upbringing. So certain things we just don't seem to understand with each other. So we're working our way through that. I think that it takes a lot of understanding. And personally, I think over-communication is incredible for a relationship. When I say over-communication, I mean asking the questions that pop into your head when they pop into your head. For example, I sit there and I ask my husband questions all the time. Like, are you happy with the way I'm loving you? Are you happy with the way I'm communicating with you? Are you happy with the time I'm spending with you? How do you feel if I do this? How do you feel if I do that? And he gets so annoyed sometimes. He's like, it's fine. Why are you asking me all these questions? But because I want to be clear on everything. I don't want there ever to be miscommunication. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're not getting what they wanted to get out of a relationship or out of this. I want to call it a friendship because we are best friends. So I think over-communication is an incredible thing. And I think that more people should do it. Yes, it might bring out the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. But I genuinely think that it can be super, super healthy for a relationship. So over-communication is something that I'm going to continue practicing until it truly becomes a problem, until he's going to be like, Nimi, shut up now. Seriously, we're good. We've been married for 50 years. Let it go. So either way, everything legit, the Nimi Mehta podcast. It's going to be definitely a topic I'm going to be keeping you up to date with, which is my long distance relationship turned very short distance turned. He's now sleeping next to me at night. I really appreciate you for listening to episode 1 of season 2. I'm so excited that we've got this started. We've really kicked this off. And listen, if you have any suggestions for topics that you'd like me to talk about, or if you've really truly related to anything that I've spoken about on this episode or in previous episodes, please do get in touch with me on Instagram at the Nimi Mehta. I would super appreciate it if you subscribe to this podcast as well if you loved it. It's of course available on all podcast streaming platforms. Do share it with your friends and family, anyone who you feel like would really relate or benefit from these conversations. I appreciate you, I love you, and I will speak to you soon on episode 2. Peace.